The SaaS market as a whole has become extremely competitive over the last few years. And now, with tools like Lovable, Cursor, and Claude Code, we're gonna have so many SaaS products for almost everything. I call this the Temu Effect. AI is going to write 95% of the code for a lot of products. It will design the interfaces and do the UX, and it will even debug and quality check its own solutions. Are these products gonna be amazing? Probably not, but many people will settle. Just like cheap products on Temu. So if you want to avoid joining this race to the bottom in the age of AI, it is now more important than ever that you find a way to uniquely position your product in this super crowded market. And in this video, I will give you 8 ways you can position your SaaS, and I'll give you the pros and cons and some real-life examples for each of them. By the end of this video, you should ask yourself, which of these positions is my product taking? And does it make sense to consider changing it? Let's go. Position 1. A low-cost alternative. If you are an indie hacker and you're building your products using these AI tools, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but it might pay off in the long run if you just call it what it is, a low-cost alternative. Let it come through in your messaging and your offer that you have a product that serves a very well-established market in solving a very well-known problem, and you're offering to do it at a lower cost than other big players in the market. A great example of this is Pabbly, which is a low-cost Zapier alternative. They very openly market themselves this way, and it comes with a ton of benefits. They don't have to educate the market. They don't have to convince anyone about the need for their tool. They just need to drop the name, Zapier, and cheaper, and the right customers will instantly be aligned with their value prop. This also makes advertising an ideal marketing channel for a tool with this position. On the flip side, you might risk getting the cheap knockoff or AI slop vibe associated with you, which isn't always desirable. Position 2. A light version. You have a product that solves a problem in a much simpler way, offering a much more minimalistic and often more limited user interface. For example, Canva started out as a light version of Photoshop. As Canva grew more complex, one of the tools I'm running, TinyKiwi, is now a light version of Canva. A similar example is MailerLite. It's a light version of tools like MailChimp and SendGrid. It literally has light in its name. It's a textbook example of a light version position. It's a perfect opportunity to capture users who are less tech savvy and find the alternatives way too complex and overwhelming. On the other hand, tools like these might end up struggling staying light and still evolve. As I mentioned, Canva started out with this position, but it grew into a rather complex piece of software that a lot of users are actually struggling with now. Position 3. Enterprise. You solve a huge, frequent, and painful problem, and you have an extra focus on customer service, tailored solutions, manual setup, and account management. This is where SaaS meets tech-enabled service businesses, and I think these hybrid software service type businesses are the most likely to survive this Temu effect in SaaS, simply because they still heavily depend on humans. HubSpot and Salesforce are great examples of this type of position. The business and infrastructure of these types of services are often extremely complex. On the other hand, this is where real money flows. HubSpot charges more than $3,000 per month for their enterprise solution, and that's actually in the cheaper end. There are enterprise software solutions that charge way more than this. Position 4. Unique player. You can take this position if you're offering a very unique approach to solving a problem. This is quite hard to retain over time, but it could be that you have access to certain resources or you have specific expertise that allows you to solve something in a way that few other businesses can. A great example of this is Grammarly. For a long time, before the era of AI, they were very unique and one of a kind in the way they help users improve writing, which made them an industry leader. Another example is OpenAI. For the first 3 or 4 years, they were really the only ones doing what they did, until competition eventually caught up. The downside of this position is that you have to constantly fight for uniqueness. Very few business models and tech products are immune to being copied, so appearing unique might become very challenging over time. Position 5. First mover. This is the position every new founder desires, being the first one to discover a problem and to claim a new market. A great example of this is Slack. The idea of using a chat-based client as a collaboration tool was quite new at the time, and having a first-mover advantage is definitely beneficial. Even today, while both Discord and Microsoft Teams have greatly outperformed Slack in the number of users, Slack is somehow still considered an industry standard for team collaboration. On the other hand, if you're the first one, you probably have to educate the market, making everyone aware that there's a problem they might not even know they had and that they need a solution for it. This is painfully difficult, and as the first mover, you're probably also gonna make all the mistakes that your competitors can learn from without taking the same hit. Position 6. Niche. You are solving a problem, but you're solving it for a very specific small segment of the market, and your tool is tailored to this very specific type of user. A great example of this is OpenClaw, which at its core is an inventory management system, but it is specifically tailored for dropshipping businesses that are using Shopify. For years, OpenClaw served this narrow segment of the market until Shopify eventually acquired it and made it a part of Shopify itself. This is one of the best, most tried and tested position, and as a small indie SaaS, this is probably the best position you can take. Find a small group of users and build it for them. Don't worry that the other big players also solve the same problem, because you're customizing your entire platform to be useful for this specific small group of users. On the flip side, it might limit your growth potential. At some point, you may have to expand your tool in order to capture a bigger market, and this might alienate your original core group of users. Position 7. Privacy first. This is a popular position in our day and age where privacy is a topic that concerns a lot of users. You can solve a problem, but specifically position yourself as prioritizing data privacy and security above all else. A great example of this is Fathom Analytics, which brands itself as a simple privacy-first alternative to Google Analytics, and it's very popular. Another example is N8N, which markets their self-hosted version as a way to protect your data by deploying on-prem. The downside is that you might end up locking yourself in on a market segment that's too small, and as privacy concern grows, bigger alternatives might incorporate some of the same privacy practices and end up outcompeting you that way. And finally, position 8. Integrations. You can position yourself as the tool with the largest number of third-party integrations with other tools. For some users, that's simply the final drop that will win them over. A great example of this is Zapier, which boasts of having 6,000 integrations, more than their competitors like Make and If This Then That. And for tools where integrations are a central part of the service they offer, this is obviously a beneficial position to take. The downside? Well, your competitors can catch up on you and offer the same integrations. It's a position that's a bit hard to protect. Of course, these are 8 popular SaaS positions, but they're not the only ones. And as the markets evolve, new positions turn up all the time. One position we're seeing right now that's very unique to the big AI players is the position of who can burn most cash by offering most AI requests for a fixed monthly fee. If you haven't thought about which position your SaaS should take, this is a perfect time to do a bit of reflection. Where do you see yourself and your product fit in? And how do you stand out? Positioning is hard, and there are certain types of products that are going to make everything much harder. There are AI SaaS products that I would completely avoid building to begin with, and I explain what they are in this video. So I will see you over there.